Alex, can you hear me all right? All right. Captain Jackson will be arriving in 5 minutes. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The United States Coast Guard has its roots in the earliest days of aviation, when Coast Guard surfmen assisted the Wright brothers with the launch of their first flight at Kill Devil Hills. Since then, our service has been leading the way, developing new tactics, techniques, and technology to leverage the advantages of flight to accomplish our varied missions. From search and rescue to law enforcement to environmental protection, Air Station Astoria continues that storied legacy of Coast Guard aviation, maintaining a 24/7, 365 alert posture for response and search and rescue, law enforcement, and national security. Leonardo da Vinci once said, "When once you have tasted flight, you will forever walk the earth with your eyes turned skyward. For there you have been, and there you will always long to return." With the storied history of Coast Guard aviation and Da Vinci's sentiment in mind, I ask you to turn your eyes skyward for the arrival of our commanding officer, Captain Scott Jackson, as he returns from his last flight as a military aviator. A distinguished flyer, Captain Jackson was designated as an Army aviator in June 1994, as Coast Guard aviator number 3,480 in the August of 2000. Captain Jackson has accumulated over 5,015 flight hours in the UH-1 Huey, UH-60 Blackhawk, MH-65 Dolphin, H-3 Sea King, and MH-60 Jayhawk helicopters, operating in Asia, Europe, the Caribbean, Alaska, and the U.S. East, West, and Gulf Coasts. Now, Air Station Astoria, arriving. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Scott Jackson. Family members, feel free to join Captain at the helicopter.
Take this off. Thank you. All right, where's my family? Come on. Gotta get a group photo.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Lieutenant Commander Jason Weeks. I will be the Master of Ceremonies for this change of command. On behalf of Captain Scott Jackson, Commanding Officer, Air Station Astoria, I would like to welcome you here today and acknowledge our distinguished guest, John Fitzpatrick, City of Astoria Mayor, fellow captains, colonels, commanders, commanding officers, and officers in charge, supporters of the Coast Guard, family members, and friends. In addition, I would like to extend a heartfelt welcome to the families and friends of the Jackson and Corbin families, and a special thanks to those viewing online. The change of command ceremony is a formal, time-honored tradition that is important to the transfer of command. The formality of the occasion is an acknowledgement of respect or authority which is vital to a military organization. The ceremony represents more than just the relief of one commanding officer by another. It is the transfer of absolute authority and responsibility for a military unit of the United States and its assigned missions. Today, Commander Neal Corbin will relieve Captain Scott Jackson as commanding officer of Air Station Astoria. Admiral Charles Fosse, Commander, 13th Coast Guard District, will be the presiding official. Immediately following the change of command, there will be a retirement ceremony for Captain Scott Jackson, honoring his 31 years of service to our country. All guests are asked to ensure their cell phones and electronic devices are on silent mode. Military guests are requested to remain covered and follow my lead in rendering appropriate honors. Now, will the guests please rise for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the presentation of colors, the national anthem, and the invocation. During the national anthem, persons not in uniform should stand facing the flag with their right hand over their heart. All veterans are authorized to render the hand salute. Now, Commander, United States Coast Guard, arriving. Now, Air Station Astoria, arriving. Now, 13th District, arriving. Hand salute. And salute. The invocation will now be offered by Lieutenant Matt Marshall. Military members remain covered. Let us pray.
Eternal Father, Lord and giver of life, we rejoice on this day that you have made, for we experience your blessings and mercy new every morning. We rejoice with Captain Scott Jackson and his family as they have come to this new season of retirement and the rewards of a life of sacrifice, service, leadership, and friendship, given willingly and graciously to this great nation of ours. As we reflect on the career of one of America's finest, we realize it may never be clear how deep the impact of 31 years of service truly runs. But we know, in recent years, from personal experience, here at Air Station Astoria and across Sector Columbia River, the difference that comes about by authentic and caring servant leadership. His people always came before the mission, and for that, we say thank you. And now, as this mission is completed with honor, we pray for the future. Preserve the Jackson family and bless the fruits of their labor. The sacrifice was shared by them all, so we ask that in this new season, the memories and time well spent together would be shared as well. May new endeavors be accompanied by your favor. For the future of the air station and the service, we pray that your continual preserving hand would guide and sustain a new generation of guardians. As the faces change, the life-saving mission of the Coast Guard does not. Protect those who put their lives on the line that others may live. And may we never forget the legacy of those who have gone before that makes such a service possible. We pray all of these things in your unchanging name. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Marshall. Ladies and gentlemen, a traditional part of the change of command ceremony requires the commanding officer and prospective commanding officer to review the unit's personnel. Captain Jackson and Commander Corbin will now inspect the personnel of Air Station Astoria.
Air Station. Attain, hup! Air Station, at ease.
Military members may uncover and remain uncovered for the remainder of the change of command and retirement ceremony. Air Station, you may take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to introduce Admiral Charles Fosse, the Coast Guard's 13th District Commander. He is responsible for all Coast Guard operations in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana, encompassing 4,400 miles of coastline, 600 miles of inland waterways, and a 125-mile international border with Canada. Please join me in welcoming Admiral Fosse.
morning to you all. What a wonderful and perfect day to be here at Air Station Astoria to celebrate what is just a wonderful day. Every time I visit here, it's sunny and 65 degrees. It seems like it's just a normal day in Astoria here on the coastline of Oregon. Of course, you know that's not true. This is an extremely diverse area in terms of weather, but it is great that we have a day like this. Thanks, Scott, for dialing up. What a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us here for what is just a tremendously wonderful and special occasion. I want to extend a warm welcome to all of our distinguished guests, commanders, commanding officers, all of our family members, distinguished guests from the city of Astoria, retirees. Our auxiliaries are here in force. We appreciate the band coming to play for us today. Really a great crowd here, and thank you so much. I want to point out Commander Corbin and Captain Jackson's family specifically. I know they traveled from a long ways, the Jackson family. Mr. and Ms. Jackson coming all the way from Texas along with brothers and sisters. And I just want to take a moment. I know we have a lot of veterans in the audience, and I had a chance to talk to Mr. Jackson and talk about his storied career as a veteran serving the Vietnam War. So I'd just like to give a special round of applause for our veterans in the audience. Melanie, Leah, Caleb, Joshua, Noah, thank you for being here to celebrate your husband and your father. Great to have you here. And then, of course, Commander Corbin's family. Appreciate you being here as well. Danielle, Porter, and Parker, and other families that have traveled for this. I'm honored to be here to participate in this time-honored tradition where Captain Scott Jackson transfers command of Air Station Astoria to Commander Neal Corbin. The formality and significance of this type of ceremony dates back centuries, as long as our service has existed, and is steeped in tradition and holds profound significance, originating from the need for a clear transfer of authority. During times of war and peace, these rituals symbolize continuity, unity, and the seamless transition of leadership. Rooted in the principles of discipline and respect, these ceremonies have evolved over time, incorporating elements of pomp and circumstance to honor outgoing leaders and to welcome incoming ones. Only one individual can be in command at any given time, and they have total and inescapable responsibility and accountability for the unit's people, all assets, and the safe and effective performance of the mission. Ultimately, the only thing that's really required for a change of command is a crew, a prospective commander, and the commander. And the thing that they're required to do is to say, I relieve you. And we're going to do that here in a few minutes. But we bring everything else together because it is important that we celebrate this day and celebrate the community that surrounds a commander during their time with that authority and responsibility. We have our base Astoria partners here. We have many partners from around the district here that support a unit like Air Station Astoria, both operationally and in the support that is provided. Our auxiliary partners are here. We have reserve members, we have our civilian members, and of course our families that surround us with everything that our families do for us as we serve our nation. So there's never one person doing all the work, even though there is one person in command with that authority and responsibility. The crew of Air Station Astoria has accomplished many great things under Captain Jackson's leadership, and we're going to talk a lot about the things that he did. He'll be recognized here in a bit, but everything that he did, he will quickly talk about the crew and the team that did those things with him and during his time here. I want to take a minute just to share a few brief stories that kind of articulate some of the things that have happened here. We'll be here for a long, long time when we talk about all of it. But for one, although slightly before my time here in District 13, the work involved to execute the Coast Guard's largest reorganization in over 20 years is not lost on me. When Captain Jackson and many of the crew members here today reported to Astoria, they did not receive orders to Air Station Astoria, but instead to Sector Columbia River. Under Captain Jackson's leadership and a result of much hard work and teamwork from the assembled crew here today, the Coast Guard expanded Sector Columbia River's footprint by merging Sector North Bend into Sector Columbia River as a consolidated super sector and relocated the command 90 miles to Portland. This in turn meant the stand-up of Air Station Astoria as a standalone command reporting directly to District 13 and the stand-up of Base Astoria right here. This was a significant project for many, meant shifts in roles and responsibilities for the crew here in Astoria, but they have championed this change under Captain Jackson's leadership and better positioned the Coast Guard to effectively serve the public in the Pacific Northwest. Positioned here at the mouth of the Columbia River, stories of challenging maritime conditions, bad weather, and heroic rescues have a vivid history. Air Station Astoria's crews trained to operate and frequently effect rescues in these difficult conditions. A little over a year ago, on the evening of February 5th, 2023, the commercial fishing vessel Ethel May found itself capsized near the entrance to Walapa Bay. Air Station Astoria duty crews swiftly responded. They located a survival craft and rescued 2 hypothermic survivors. With precision and determination, they transported them safely to awaiting emergency medical services ashore, ensuring their survival when otherwise they certainly would have perished. Air Station crews rescued 10 people, 7 adults, 2 children, and a dramatic baby rescue, and several pets from buildings and rising floodwaters during the atmospheric river responses during the Forks, Washington flooding, earning national media coverage on the Today Show, CBS, NBC, and other news outlets. Air crews engaged in multiple interagency, high-altitude inland rescues, saving 6 people, including nighttime hoists in poor weather in the Olympic National Park, and 2 extreme high-altitude hoists in the Cascade Mountains. One rescue included one of the Coast Guard's highest recorded rescues from 10,000 feet density altitude on Mount Washington that garnered national and international media coverage. And the reality is, without Air Station Astoria and our other air stations in the district, there's no one else to do these rescues. So it's not like we're selected to do this. We're selected to do this because there's no one else to, and we do it well. And it's not a normal thing for the Coast Guard to do inland search and rescue, but it's something that we fill the void and do it very well. And of course, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about a little bit about Leo, the golden retriever, who this air station rescued January 1st of this year, started 2024. Well, the viewership of this rescue has reached approximately 42.8 million people based on Nielsen ratings. I was really hoping Leo would be here today, but I guess Leo was busy. Leo does have an Instagram page that documents his recovery from his travails. He's probably got more followers than I ever will on Instagram. In addition to traditional operational expertise, Captain Jackson led Sector Columbia River through complex maritime transportation system challenges and exercised extensive captain of the port and federal on-scene coordinator authorities. Between Sector and Air Station Command over a challenging 3 years, the local and broader organizational accomplishments are very extensive. I could go on and on about these, but I won't, because the legacy left by Captain Jackson will likely be mostly seen in the care he has for his people, those who surround us here today. In the tragic aftermath of the suicide of one of his aviators, Captain Jackson passionately pushed for organizational change to aviation mental health support. He volunteered at the request of the District 13 commander at the time to help lead a mental health task force composed of individuals representing diverse ranks and career fields, and was requested by name by the Pacific Area Commander to serve as an SME to help tackle ongoing mental health issues facing our workforce. He authored a memorandum signed by both the Pacific Area and Atlantic Area commanders that resulted in policy changes that provided greater opportunities for Coast Guard aviation personnel in active flight status to pursue needed mental health care without the prospect of permanent grounding or separation from the service. Captain Jackson further instituted monthly mental health and resilience days where his workforce was encouraged to tackle the proverbial alligators nearest to the boat and to spend time with one another and their families, further bolstering resiliency of our workforce and families. Recognizing the key to success is our people, Captain Jackson's skills at developing, mentoring, and recognizing his subordinates created a culture of excellence and trust, highlighted by his mantra of, "You can't succeed without successors," and led to highly successful and diverse teams, solving complex problems in dynamic and often austere environments. His emphasis on developing leaders, recognizing the whole person, and championing values which embrace diversity is illustrated by the successes you will find amongst his crew, including promotions, advancements, awards, service level recognition, and international recognition. Although these stories are only a brief highlight reel, I hope they convey how critical Captain Jackson's leadership has been and the dedication all members of the crew have demonstrated to conduct Coast Guard missions and serve our nation. Scott, thank you for the leadership that you have provided here at Air Station Astoria and for your 35 years of service. Melanie, thank you for supporting him through all of this and what I'm sure were some very long days. We wish you and your family all the best in retirement, and I'll touch a lot more on that here in a speech to come, but Right now, I want to take a moment to express all my appreciation for the dedication, Scott, that you have shown over the last 3 years here in Astoria, and really the past 6 years in the Pacific Northwest between Air Station Port Angeles and here at Air Station Astoria. Your engagement with not only your unit, but throughout the Coast Guard and with community leaders has cemented a legacy that others will strive to emulate. Thank you. So Scott, if you could join me up on the stage here, or with me, and we'll further recognize your accomplishments.
All guests are requested to remain seated during the reading of the award. Official party cover, Air Station Astoria, attention to award. Citation to accompany the award of the Legion of Merit to Captain Michael S. Jackson, United States Coast Guard. Captain Jackson is cited for outstanding meritorious service as Commander, U.S. Coast Guard Sector Columbia River and Commanding Officer, U.S. Coast Guard Air Station Astoria from August 2021 to March 2024, culminating 31 years of exemplary service to the nation with utmost professionalism. He adeptly led 780 personnel across the full spectrum of Coast Guard operations, securing the $29 billion maritime transportation system, safeguarding critical natural resources, saving or assisting 1,860 lives, and preserving $90 million in property. Demonstrating exceptional leadership, he guided the successful completion of a once-in-a-generation reorganization, consolidation, 306 commands into a robust new multi-state sector in Portland, Oregon, and optimizing operations in one of the most challenging search and rescue environments in the United States. Reinvigorating key relationships with federal, state, local, court, and political leaders. Following the COVID-19 pandemic, he forged coalitions for the arrival of new cutters, developed processes to correct decades-old derelict vessel challenges, and delivered point-of-need services to families. A tireless proponent of readiness, safety, and innovation, he nurtured the development of urban aviation search and rescue techniques and new hoist recovery procedures, updated maritime enforcement investigator qualifications, and modernized marine inspections training to a standard adopted by Coast Guard to ensure a mission-ready force. Tackling historic fleet-wide resource shortages, Captain Jackson drove the establishment of a risk-based parts delivery system for small boats, shaped operational asset and personnel prioritization efforts throughout D13, and wrote a novel aviation consolidation strategy as a model for future force sustainment and readiness. Finally, Captain Jackson led service-wide efforts to reform mental health policy, affording greater opportunity for aviators to seek needed care. Captain Jackson's ability, diligence, and devotion to duty are most heartily commended and are in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard. Signed, Linda L. Fagan, Admiral, U.S. Coast Guard Commandant. Introduce Captain Scott Jackson, Commanding Officer, Air Station Astoria.
I'm going to say one or two more things. Sorry, not done yet. Let's see, guys. All right. I still get to say something about Commander Corbin.
That's right.
So, all right, well, Neal, congratulations. It is great to keep you here as a member of the District 13 team for a little bit longer. For your time here as the commanding officer. You've been a fundamental part of Air Station Astoria success. For the past couple of years, you and your family have served this area quite well, and I'm just so confident that you will continue this trajectory in your new role. I have full trust that you will continue to make a positive impact within District 13 in your role as commanding officer of Air Station Astoria. I know you know what is expected. You have my full trust and confidence. I ask you to lead and live by our core values, pursue the Commandant's priorities, and execute your mission with excellence. And above all, take care of your people, and I know you will. To the Air Station Astoria crew, thank you so much for hosting me and the team here from District 13 today. You have performed so incredibly well under Captain Jackson, and I know that will just continue with Commander Corbin taking the helm of responsibility here. Continue to be brilliant at the basics, take care of each other, and ensure Air Station Astoria continues to set the example of a strong service culture. Thank you all again for attending today. Semper Paras.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Captain Captain Scott Jackson, Commanding Officer, Air Station Astoria.
All right. Job well done.
Thanks, Captain.
I gotta wear these nowadays. All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to say thank you so much for coming out today and honoring the crew that's sitting before us today. It's a beautiful morning here in Oregon, and like the Admiral said, we don't always get these days like this. Thank you for coming out to support us today. Admiral Fosse, and I know Chief of Staff's in here somewhere, all the way in the back. Nice, Ollie. Master Chief Carroll, where are you, Master Chief Carroll? Back there as well. Why are you guys sitting in the back? Thank you for coming today. It really means a lot to have each one of you here. Your leadership, mentorship, and guidance have been truly, truly appreciated. Admiral, I know we discussed this last week, sir, but it's been a true privilege serving under your leadership. Thank you for supporting different ideas and measured risk-taking, for being attentive and actually listening to understand. Not everybody does, and I appreciate that you really wanted. I think the crew got to see that yesterday when we talked about ATR and really soliciting their input to make them the owners of things, and that's the way you are as a leader, and I truly appreciate that. And for certainly for empowering your subordinate leaders like me to get the mission done the best way we know how. I'll miss working for you, sir. I'm honored that you are here today as my presiding official. So, special thanks to the project officers of this event. Obviously, my MC over there, Lieutenant Commander Weeks, Lieutenant Monchan, back there in the flag detail, Lieutenant Travers, Lieutenant J.G. Ungans. Thank you, guys. I know these things like this are a big pain in the butt sometimes, but you guys thought of every minute detail and adjusted to a certain myriad of last-minute changes and really set the stage for a memorable event today. Thank you. Certainly a great job by our color guard, and I think they're still in here, but under the leadership of YN1 Candelaria, you look sharp as always. Thanks to the band. I know it came back and said thank you to you guys earlier, but appreciate you traveling down today to make this event and providing the superb music for the ceremony. I always say a military band certainly lends a higher level of prestige to any military event. Thank you. Now, as I walked around hugging people when I came off the flight line, I realized how many people were here today, and people that I ran into at different points in my career, my life, moving around. And I know there's so many folks out there that I can thank personally, because I don't want to leave anyone out. Please allow me to say all formal greetings and salutations remain in effect. And aside from maybe the Admiral that's up here with me today, I think I'm the oldest active duty member in uniform, and therefore request just a little bit of lenience if there's any possible senior moments on my part. If I leave anyone out of my speeches today, please know it is by no means intentional. I couldn't be more thankful for all y'all, and that's Texas vernacular for everyone. First things first, I want to thank the Lord for blessing me with the opportunities in life that I've had. As Proverbs 16:9 says, a man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps, and I'm certainly thankful that he directed my steps to serve here. 2.5 years ago, this group over here, and actually some of the group over here too, remembered as a super excited, masked up on the ramp there, a little bit younger, Captain Jackson stood before a joint sector air station in Warrenton, ready to tackle a bunch of unique challenges that face the 850 active duty civilian reserve and auxiliaries that serve our beautiful Columbia River system in coastal Oregon and Washington. The challenges were certainly not small by any means. In addition to the difficulties imposed by fulfilling our missions for the American people in the unforgiving Pacific Northwest, specifically the graveyard of the Pacific, we had to overcome the challenges like the Admiral described of maintaining operations during COVID and completing the largest Coast Guard reorganization in 2 decades. I was fortunate enough to dual hat as both the sector commander and Interstate Commanding Officer for the first part of it. But since I had the opportunity to say thank you last year when I changed command to Justin Knob, wherever he's out here somewhere too, I say, you're in the back too. Today I'll be focusing my thank yous on the great team here and family at Interstate Astoria. To my incredible Air Station family, it's been the highlight of my career to serve as your skipper. You're truly among the finest young men and women that I know. This award really belongs to you guys. It only scratched the surface of what you collectively did and accomplished over the last 3 years. And words will never be able to express how thankful and blessed I've been to serve alongside each one of you. And despite the challenges that we face together, including the tragic loss of 2 of our shipmates, sorry, you made this my favorite job in 31 years. I consider it a total joy to have had the distinct pleasure of working, flying, laughing, and crying with you guys. I truly loved coming to work every day, and even somebody like me knows that's not something everybody gets to experience. To our guests and visitors here today, each one of these exceptional young Americans chose to serve our great country. They took oaths for a variety of reasons, but they all serve because they have a deep love for our country, and they all believe wholeheartedly in the time-honored concepts of duty, honor, and sacrifice. Each one of these brave men and women that I serve alongside right here are willing to risk their lives and stand in the gap for your freedom and safety. They're willing to go out in the worst weather imaginable and save the lives of people they don't even know. The Bible verse, John 15:13, comes to mind. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Now, as Coast Guard aviators, I think we got the best job in the world. But our job is to use these magnificent machines you see out there on the ramp in service to others, protecting, defending, and saving. This team did that job exceptionally well, responding to every call the nation gave us, whether defending our sovereignty in the Arctic, providing presidential security missions, supporting Indo-Pacific operations, deploying in support of hurricane or flood relief operations, backfilling sister units that experience loss, or saving lives. There's 123 people alive today because of the efforts of those people right there. Now extrapolate that out to the descendants of those 123 people, and you'll get a small inkling of the importance and impact of their efforts. Let me share a few examples. If they're in here, stand up. Steve Podmore, Mike Travers, Chris McDonald, Brian Notice, can you stand up? This team rescued 2 people from a sailboat dead in the water 200 nautical miles northwest of here, floundering in thunderstorms, gale winds, and 15-foot seas. Sit down, guys. Nick Peters, Chris Hicks, Matt Shea, Brian Notice. I'm calling you several times, Brian. This team rescued an injured hunter with severe abdominal pains, blood in the urine. Well, I won't say the other stuff that was going on, but it was at the peak of Mount Jefferson. It was in mountain fog, and the mountain was obscured, and it had orographic turbulence at the edge of the helicopter's performance margin. You guys can sit down. Steve Podmore, Amanda Thrasher, Jake Dillon, John Claridge. You guys out? This group rescued a man severely injured in an ATV accident east of the Cascades. Luke Monchon, Keith Holmes, Alex Payne, Brian Notice, and Brian again. Please stand up. This team flew through clouds to locate 2 missing hikers in the Olympic Mountains. Once again, at extreme low ceilings and mountain obscuration. Jason Weeks, Dan Unont, Jason, you already stand, buddy. Justin Bergman and Ben Brown, will you stand up? This crew flew 311 miles south to California and then another 200 nautical miles offshore through low visibility and less than a half statute mile viz to rescue a mariner from a motor vessel who was in respiratory distress and suffering from a kidney infection. Jason again, Chris Hicks, Keith Williams, Luke Austin, you stand up. These guys rescued a family of 4 from rising floodwaters near Grays River, Washington, when the region experienced historic rainfall in a 24-hour period. The crew flew into an area with numerous hazards, including power lines and dense fog, hoisted from 150 feet to save the life of a person trapped on a 3x6 vehicle roof, succumbing to swift rising water. Another rescue later that day, this team put the aircraft between several 110-foot trees and hoisted 4 more survivors. You can sit down, guys. Clayton Madlow and Trevor Salt, you both in here? I got Clayton, all right. Now, while our rescue swimmers, like Clayton here, train to save lives every day, they never know who they're gonna save. On 2 separate occasions, these guys set out to rescue man's best friend. The Admiral got to talk about that before. 2 separate dogs that had plummeted from cliffs on the treacherous Oregon coast. The first was a German Shepherd named Dory, and the second was the famous Leo, the golden retriever, who has his own Instagram page, apparently. Both dogs were successfully rescued thanks to these men doing what they do, and recognized by the president of PETA too. So, anyways, well done. You can sit down, Clay. Most importantly, Clay, thanks for taking me out and swimming with me the other day. These are just a few examples of all the rescues. But in all, our air crews flew 4,707 flight hours, 2,108 sorties, and 256 search and rescue missions. Now I want you to understand what it takes to make that happen. Can I ask every one of my maintainers to stand up? These folks here are the hardest working folks I know. They put in over 91,453 maintenance labor hours, keeping these aircraft flying, completed 22 2- to 6-week heavy maintenance packages and cycles, did 5 off-cycle engine changes, and completed 2 unscheduled main gearbox replacements. They kept these complicated 30-plus-year-old machines with over 40,000 parts that all move in opposition to one another, flying beyond 20,000 hours of flight time. Let me tell you, nobody else does that. Whether it's in another DoD military service or civilian services. Matter of fact, all the other DoD services, they take these H-60s out there and they fly them, and when they hit 10,000 hours, they replace them usually. We fly ours over twice that much and actually extending them beyond that now. In much harsh saltwater and power limiting environments. We can only do that because we have the world's best helicopter maintainers like these professionals right here. So Alright, you guys can sit down. Where's my fire crew? Stand up, guys. We only get to do what we do because we're kept safe by folks like this. These are the guys you saw shooting the water cannon. They stand watch every day to make sure if there's any kind of problem here, they can extract us and get us out of the aircraft. Kind of a thankless, most of the time in the shadows job, but I just want to say thank you to you guys for standing and watching each and every day to look out for us. Top units not only get the mission done, they set the foundation for future success. This is how the Coast Guard continues to be so successful in serving our nation. Airstay Astoria forged a strong foundation for Coast Guard aviation, leaving a lasting legacy that stretches across the nation amongst those that we helped to train. We supported the Coast Guard's only high-risk aviation training at the Advanced Helicopter Rescue School, facilitated training for 480 Coast Guard students from every Coast Guard air station, 80 DoD students from the Air Force, Army, and the Navy, and 30 students from the Canadian Defense Forces. Our crews were continually praised for their professional training thank you ops by external evaluators in routinely trained environments that others don't. We get to hoist and train in urban environments, high seas, surf, caves, swift water, mountains, and pinnacles. Our folks train to hoist where others don't, like large transoceanic vessels, with pilot boats, job corps vessels, and with Corps of Engineers survey vessels. While talking about setting foundations for success, I'd like to brag on a few other folks that typically operate behind the scenes here. Andre Altavia, you mind standing up? Where are you, Andre? In the back, of course. Following years of resource challenges, Airstay Astoria was allocated a historic amount of backlog funding during the closeout of this last fiscal year. When funds came with little notice over 3 disbursement packages, Andre triaged current and forecast needs to ensure continuous maintenance and operational capability. But with only days to itemize, obligate, and award, that's a lot of financial stuff going on here. Much needed aircraft components, consumables, and other supplies during the threat of potential government shutdown. He volunteered to work off-duty hours and on weekends and overnights to minimize errors precipitated by frequent crashes of overloaded procurement software. And pressed by deadlines, he innovatively leveraged technology and developed a way to batch individual line items, allowing the unit to receive and spend additional funds quicker and improving the unit's maintenance and operational resiliency. And his program was actually recognized and adopted throughout several units in the district. Thank you. Matt Shade, would you stand up? And I know you just got an award for something similar to what I'm going to talk about, but I wanted to highlight that too. Following the departure of our quality assurance chief, Matt stepped up to lead during the 2-month gap, ensuring continuous coverage and oversight of something that is a critical flight safety role here at the unit. In addition to completing quality assurance inspections for routine maintenance and unscheduled repairs, he completed numerous Coast Guard level process improvement requests, joint oil analysis program submissions, and safety-oriented product quality deficiency reports. Often the sole quality assurance petty officer during his shift, he oversaw an accurate and safe completion of 4 complex heavy maintenance cycles spanning 2 or more weeks, including recently finding a problem which led to the immediate replacement of one of our flight control mixing units that are not typically replaced until depot level maintenance, and therefore won an eagle eye too. All right, thanks, Matt. Appreciate that. Lorenzo, where are you? Are you out there? All right. During the teardown and staging phase of a heavy maintenance cycle, Lorenzo recognized the aircraft placement would prevent access to an overhead crane and creating a safety hazard if it wasn't lowered, repositioned, and re-leveled. Because he had the courage to speak up, he protected his shipmates and prevented operational readiness delays. Thank you. Airstay Astoria not only got the job done and trained, in my mind and opinion, the best rescue aircrews in the world and set the foundation for success. They knew why they did it. They did it for family, their personal family, and their Coast Guard family. Speaking of family, I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize our wonderful Coast Guard family members and our terrific embezzlers. Christine, can you stand up? And if you're a family member that is here, please stand up. Coast Guard family, thank you. Without your prayers, support, and additional love, we couldn't do it. Now, part of family is also community, and I have a lot of community friends. I've got community friends out here that showed up from Port Angeles when I was in Port Angeles. But I wanted to say thank you to Astoria. I know the mayor's here, sheriff's here, a lot of my friends from the Senior Leaders Council are here. Thank you so much for showing up today and for your incredible support of our Coast Guard families here. It means the world to have all y'all here. Again, Texas vernacular for everyone. Now, as everybody's probably figured out, this is more of a thank you speech focused on crew and their accomplishments, and I'll certainly reminisce and give a few more personal thank yous later during the retirement ceremony coming up. As I wrap this up, let me give a few special shout outs to those that work closest to me and therefore put up with me the most. Chief of Staff, District Staff, and fellow MACOM commanders, thank you for accommodating me. Eve's out there too. Where are you? Are you in the back too, Eve? Yeah, you are in the back there. Thanks for accommodating me and being great friends and shipmates that you are. I hope I wasn't too needy, Chief of Staff. By the way, I still want a yeoman. I mean, cutters have yeomen, why can't air stations? I want a yeoman, Chief of Staff. Senior Chief Upshaw, thank you for taking care of our folks and being my right hand here. You led an exceptional Chiefs mess who championed our focal areas of family, foundation, and function. And I'm thankful the Air State gets to keep you, and I anxiously await news, hopefully about putting on another star on those anchors in the not so distant future, my friend. Ops, the best aviation ops boss in the Coast Guard. Thank you for leading, training, and inspiring our pilots and air crews to be their best they could be, and operating from a position of integrity. I could think of no finer operations officer. You truly did inspire everyone to spiral up, my friend, and I thank you, including me. XO, phenomenal strategist, leader, and friend. It gives me no greater joy than to leave this wonderful air station and the family here in your great and capable hands. They're blessed to get to serve under someone of your caliber, and you'll do an amazing job as CO. Continue leading them well and taking great care of them. We both know they won't let you down. And Danielle, Danielle, right there. Neal's lucky to have you. I'll just say it. Now, as I said earlier, family's the reason we serve. Now, will my entire air station stand up, please? Folks, this is my family, and I will miss you guys, as all families do. I love every one of you guys. I'll now read my orders. From Commander, Coast Guard Personal Services Command, Washington, D.C., to Captain Michael Scott Jackson. Subject, orders, retirement. Upon relief of duties as Commanding Officer, Air Station Astoria, detach from all duties and proceed to home of selection in connection with retirement.
Commander Corbin will now read his orders.
From Commander, Coast Guard Personnel Services Command, Washington, D.C. to Commander Neal Corbin. Subject, orders, new assignment. Detach in time to meet report date. Proceed to report as Commanding Officer of Coast Guard Air Station Astoria.
Officer, Air Station Astoria.
Thank you, Jason. First, I want to offer my sincere thank you to the members of our incident management team. So Lieutenant Commander Weeks, Lieutenant Mike Travers, Lieutenant Luke Montion, and Lieutenant Dan Young-Hans, as well as the entire unit for preparing for today's event. It took months of planning, and here we are in the Pac Northwest, weather today applaud your efforts. Nice one to have. Skipper, congratulations on your upcoming retirement. Reminds me of the saying, you can all go to hell, I'm headed to Texas. But as of my last trip there back in February, they're roughly the same temperature, so good luck with that. Navy J. Rotzi, however, is going to be in great hands. To the men and women of Air Station Astoria, thank you for your sustained excellence for the last 21 months. There's an unprecedented need for global demand for Coast Guard capabilities. Our service's value to the nation continues to grow. Preservation of lives and property at sea and leading the world in sound maritime governance has never been more important. We have many challenges ahead, especially in the wake of growing global instability. To my family, my stepdad Bob, his partner Judy, my in-laws Brian and Patty, my aunt and uncle who couldn't be with us today but are watching from afar, thank you for supporting me. To my fellow Coast Guardsmen who I've served with, Christian, Aaron, Brent, Christopher, Roger, thanks guys for making the trip down here, it means a lot. And finally, to my dearest wife Danielle, who despite managing a career of her own has been the stabilizing force in our family while my responsibilities have been focused elsewhere. Porter Parker, thank you for your spirit of adventure and your willingness to make new friends and see new places. Your mom and I love you very much and are proud of what you have accomplished thus far. Now to the Air Station. We need to honor our profession. We need to strive to be the most proficient aviators, air crew, and mechanics in the world. We must be semper paratus, carry out our mission, make complex on-scene decisions, and ensure we evaluate warrant, risk versus gain in every mission carefully. I pledge to do my best to safeguard and prioritize your training, professional development, and quality of life. All orders remain in effect. Carry out the plan of the day.
Aye, aye, Skipper. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the change of command. We will take a 5-minute intermission. The official party will then return to their positions on stage. We will begin the retirement ceremony for Captain Scott Jackson after retiring with 31 years of distinguished military service. Thank you.
We want to do both simultaneously. We'll do both simultaneously. Okay, ready? All right. Let's go right now. Ready? All right. Touche.